Hello and welcome to the Aloe and Ace podcast. I am the allosexual Skylar.
And I'm the asexual Jesse.
Hey girl.
Hey.
Episode 23.
Episode 23.
Before we get started, this is a sexual podcast. We oftentimes will discuss sexual things. So as a trigger warning, just keep that in mind to look at the show notes for anything that we might talk about, which we feel might be triggering.
Yes. And also, just a friendly reminder, we are not professionals. We are not professionals. We like to talk about our lived experiences and our observations and what we feel could possibly help others because of what's helped us, but we're not professionals.
And we love hearing from you guys, so please reach out to us through all platforms or however you feel comfortable, including and not limited to emailing us at aloeandacepodcast@gmail.com.
And there's also a phone number.
There sure is.
And what's the phone number, Skylar?
So it is a US-based phone number, area code 385-645-3651. And if you want to leave a message or send us a text message, you certainly can do so.
Yeah, we love hearing from you. And we know it's been a couple of weeks again. Things have just been a little interesting around here.
Well, tell us about it. Let me just start off by saying, Jesse, how's it going?
It's going pretty good.
It's going pretty good now. How has it been over the last couple weeks?
The last couple weeks have been interesting.
Tell us about school.
Why you got me bragging about this? Okay, I'm going to fill everyone in on a little piece of information that I have not said yet. I am currently enrolled in college to become a therapist, which is pretty crazy. So I just passed my first 2 classes and I did really good. And I was so scared that I was going to do bad because it's been a long time since I've been in school, but I may have overachieved a little bit. I'm not going to lie.
And that's all right.
That's all right. So yeah, that's going really well.
Good. Anything else?
I was in Chicago.
You were in Chicago. I was not in Chicago.
You were not in Chicago because we haven't recorded an episode, right? Since I was in Chicago.
Nope.
Wow, that's weird. I went to Chicago for a business trip and that was interesting and fun. It had its great things and it had its struggle moments, but nothing too crazy, nothing too concerning. So here we are. Oh, and we also threw a birthday party for all 6 of our children.
Oh, yes, we did do that.
We did do that. So that went off really well, actually.
Yeah, there's an aquatic center near our house, and we just rent the whole place and celebrate the kids' birthdays, and they can invite, I think, up to 800 people can be there?
I don't know. A lot of people can be there. I think we had around 100 people show up, and it was honestly so good. So actually, I want to give a little bit more context with celebrating all 6 kids' birthdays. Just to be clear, when they have their actual birthday, we do a couple of special things for them.
Yes.
But then we have one huge birthday party to celebrate all of them in a really big way.
That's because the kids that have the birthday months, they don't get to have fun outside pool parties, splashing around.
The kids that have the birthday months?
The winter birthday.
Winter in there. Yeah, so we decided to just do one big birthday bash. And this is the 3rd year we've done it, and the kids love it. So
2nd year.
No, it's the 3rd.
We've only done, at the aquatic center. We've done it that twice.
Right,
yes,
yeah.
Okay.
The birthday bash has been proven to be a hit.
Yeah.
So that's been really fun. It's chaotic. Sometimes I'm like, do we really have 6 kids? And speaking of that, we haven't said anything about this yet either, but Skylar and I have decided to pursue having a baby between the 2 of us.
A 7th child.
A 7th child. So that's pretty wild. But if you know us, I think that you know that it kind of makes sense, actually. It's pretty on brand for us.
Well, and as a reminder, I had 3 kids and she had 3 kids. And having this child would actually tie these 6 kids together as actual siblings.
Yeah. And I think I will get into this a little bit, actually, now that I'm here. We've held off saying anything because we just really didn't know what was going to be happening, but here we are.
I mean, we still don't fully know
we
what
don't.
the outcome will be.
We don't. So the interesting thing here is that 7 years ago, whenever it was, I had my fallopian tubes removed. I was going through my divorce, and I decided it was probably best that I have them removed. So I had zero plans of ever wanting to have another baby again. And it seemed absolutely crazy for Skylar and I to choose to have another baby because, well, we already have 6 kids between us. But now that it's been 6 years that we've been together and we have our shit together, I mean, I think we do for the most part, it kind of was like, maybe we should. And then we put more thought into it. So we will be going through IVF to do this since I don't have my fallopian tubes. And all of the major testing and stuff has been done and everything looks great and good to go. And so I will start taking the medications that I need to take in just a few short weeks.
Yeah, so we'll see how everything goes and what that looks like. And we are hoping that we will have an embryo implanted around January.
Yes. Yep. So with that, it's just been a really interesting thing to think about the other ways in which I got pregnant. the other way, which was having sex. And I think about if I hadn't had my fallopian tubes removed and Skylar and I had decided to want to have a baby, well, that would look really interesting for someone who is averse to sex to try to conceive a baby. So I have no idea what that would have been like. But honestly, it gives me a little bit of anxiety thinking about it. I am a bit nervous about IVF, but I think Skylar and I would regret it later on down the line if we didn't try to do this. So I guess that's really big news. Yeah, if you want to reach out about that, we're all here and happy to talk about it.
Yeah, and we'll keep people updated.
Yeah. Skylar, how are you?
I'm great.
Are you?
Yeah.
Why are you so great?
I don't know. Because you always tell me I'm great, so
I do tell you you're great.
So I must be great. No, I don't have really anything to speak of. Not a lot going on other than the millions of things that are always going on. So I should say there's not a lot of new stuff going on that we haven't already just discussed.
Right. How was it with me being in Chicago?
Oh, it was such a vacation for me. I got to do whatever I wanted. I got to sleep on more than 1/5 of the bed. And actually, that's not true. She had a pile of laundry to establish.
Are you airing our dirty laundry?
She made sure to establish her dominance of the bed by piling all her clothes on it. So I still got 1/5, but it was all right. Now, I obviously missed you, and we didn't talk a lot because you were in a conference all day and you had schooling and you went out with people that you knew, and even in your old sister-in-law from your previous marriage that happened to be in Chicago at the same time.
Yeah.
So yeah, there wasn't a lot of communication between us, but I also had the kids here to
you were distracted.
Keep me distracted. So it was what it was.
Right.
But I was glad to have you back, not to quote unquote help me domesticate with children or anything like that.
Actually, the amount of times that I got asked, how is your spouse doing with all your kids at the house? I'm like, he's probably doing better than I would be doing.
Yeah, I mean, we have it pretty locked down, so the kids know what to expect.
They do, and they're pretty independent.
Independent. So it's like, here's your food. It's bedtime. Nothing crazy.
No.
I mean, I guess people would think that might be crazy to have 6 kids there, but I think we're
just used to it.
Yeah, it's not a big deal.
It's like the back of our hand now.
Yeah. So I do have one correction from last episode.
Oh.
And people are going to be like,
what is it?
why are you even correcting this? So when we were making the penis joke about the guy crashing through the wall and going, oh, yeah. I said it was the Gatorade man. It's the Kool-Aid man.
You said Gatorade?
Yeah, I did say Gatorade.
You did not say Gatorade.
I did, but I actually feel like as soon as I said it, I knew I said it, but I didn't actually like go back and check and re-record at the time. So
well, someone reached out to me and laughed at the Kool-Aid reference. Are you sure that you said Gatorade?
Pretty sure.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure I said
he's going to be correcting his correction.
Maybe, I don't know, but either way, I guess at this point it doesn't matter.
Okay, there were so many things that grossed me out about our last episode.
And you don't even listen to them.
I don't.
After we record. I listen to every episode after we record it.
He does. I can't.
She doesn't like the sound of my voice.
Excuse you. I don't like the sound of my own voice.
You have such a great podcasting voice, though.
Well, thank you. I still am just like, oh, don't know about that. So anyway.
So whether I said it or not, I guess now Jesse has me second guessing, but...
I thought you were going to apologize for saying penis juice.
You said that.
Did I say that?
Yeah, so you should.
No, I did not.
Yes, you did. You should apologize for that.
Ew.
I'm sure it was you. I would never.
Why am I so
I would never use that phrase.
Well, it looks like we have a couple of things to check up on. Apologies.
Well, so this episode is brought to you. No. So what we wanted to talk about on this episode is something that it came about with a conversation that we had together, in the sense of we were talking about relationships or friendships and looking at them as, why are you in this relationship? Is it for any particular reason?
Yeah, wait.
Sure.
I did want to just squeeze in a little side conversation before we get into the conversation.
Okay.
Yeah. So Skylar and I like to watch really trashy TV, as we all know. And the current trash show that we are watching is Love is Blind.
Yes.
And there is a particular couple on there. This may be a bit of a spoiler, so I'm sorry. But it has connection to asexuality to a degree. Like, it made me think about my asexuality, I mean. So there's a couple on there that Skylar and I have been a big fan of, but questioning it now. It's between Ramses and Marissa on Love is Blind. Anyway, they're having a conversation. Marissa is feeling sick. She's having a flare-up of her rheumatoid arthritis. I figured this out today. And she's also like having some PMS stuff going on. She doesn't feel like having sex. But he has this conversation with her.
It's actually twofold.
It's twofold?
Yeah, the conversation that he and her had.
Yeah. So he starts saying stuff like, well, is this going to be pretty much like, is this going to be happening a lot? And like where you're not able to have sex? Because I need to know, because I can't be in this if this is how it's going to be. And I think my mouth was like dropped down to the bed. Like I could not, my jaw just dropped open.
And I think
I was so disgusted.
I think he tried to spin it in a sense of saying, well, I just need to know what the normal is so I know what to expect, like what the base level is.
And I'm like, sorry, but bitch, please, like what? Does anyone really know a normal? Because here's the thing. I think we have so many fluctuations in general. I don't think you might find a normal in quotation marks for a bit. But then things happen and you have a new normal, and then you have a new normal, and you have a new normal. I just think it's odd. Now being where I'm at now with all of this, and us being who we are in our relationship, and kind of dismantling the hierarchy of sex, it just seems like such an awful conversation to be having to me. And then you couple that with the condom conversation that they had. Yeah,
essentially he wanted her to be on birth control so they didn't have kids, and she said, I'm not going to have birth control because it just really messes up my hormones and all that. And she's like, you can wear a condom. And he said that he refuses to wear a condom because he needs it to feel good.
He said he needs to have it be an enjoyable experience during sex, so he's not going to be wearing a condom. And that was the first conversation that happened. The other one happened after that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bro, come on. You were on our good side. I thought you can talk the talk all you want of being, for autonomy and yada, yada, all the important stuff. We know, like the basics. These are the basics. But then you need to actually walk the walk, which isn't that sort of something that you want to touch on tonight?
Yeah, so we'll get into it. Okay. So we were talking about a friendship that Jesse had, and I asked a question. I said, why are you friends with this person? We know that we all have like these associations that we have, whether it's someone we worked with 10 years ago, someone we went to high school with, and you keep them around as quote unquote friends. Mm-hmm. And so we were talking about this person, and I said, why do you feel like you're friends with this person? There's probably one of three options. Either one, it's because it's true, and we'll get into what that means. Two, it's because it's familiar. Or three, it's because you have empathy for them. And we all have, these friendships possibly where maybe someone doesn't have a lot of friends, or something else is going on. And so you feel this need, you have this empathetic pull to stay friends with them because you just have so much empathy for them possibly not having friends. And then it got us figuring, or at least it got me figuring, I'm like, well, actually, how does this relate to a relationship? Let's look at all these things and what importance they have in a relationship, period. The reason why the truth one comes up is because if I'm in a relationship with someone and someone says, well, why are you in a relationship? And I say, because it's true. I know who they are. I know what they are. The words that they are saying to me match up. I know that they're a good person because I can see that they're a good person because the actions that they're doing indicate that they're a good person. And so this truth aspect, like, is it true, means, is it trustworthy? Can you trust what they're saying because you can verify what they're saying and their character by the things that they're doing? And in this particular friendship, there wasn't really a way to indicate that.
Hey, wait. I want to clarify on this.
Sure.
In the past, I had a relationship with somebody. So it was a bit more than a friendship, but it wasn't anything like that was serious by any means, I would say.
Yeah.
And in this relationship that I had in the past, this person refused to tell me who they were. That sounds so ridiculous now that I'm saying it out loud. And they knew exactly who I was. They had listened to another podcast that Skylar and I were a part of. Skylar and I are very easily verified for who we are, right?
Yeah,
Skylar?
we have multiple Instagram accounts, Facebook, etc.
Yes, especially through being ex-Mormons. Like, it's just easy to verify who we are and what kind of people we are. And this particular relationship, there was no way to even verify who this person was, even their name, like nothing. Like, for all I know, they could have been completely opposite of what they were saying. But I had this vulnerability pull to them.
And you've had people lie to you in the past about their names when you first...
Or who they were.
Yeah, we talked about you, opening your marriage, at the tail end of your marriage, and having people reach out and them lying about their name.
Or who they were in general.
Or who they were.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things is like, can you verify that something is true? Can you verify that this person is true? If you can't, well, then what do you have? And if you're left with the other two options, those aren't two very great options to base a foundation of a relationship on. So we think that at a base level, on a foundational level, truth is 100% needed. You need to be able to verify that the person is who they say they are because the words that they're saying are matching the actions that they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And we see that in a lot of relationships, including probably past relationships where, or even on TV with like Love is Blind, there was another situation where, in the pod on Love is Blind, if you don't know the premise, they are in these pods and they have a wall between them. And they get to know each other without knowing who the other person is. They don't know what they look like. They'll know their name. They can know what they do. And they try to fall in love without seeing each other. The interesting thing is that some people, they see it as a game. And so they will say things and they'll do whatever they can to get the girl or get the guy.
Mm-hmm.
And one of these guys was like, yeah, I'm going to get you flowers all the time. Like, you're going to love it.
Talked a lot of talk.
Talked a lot of talk. As soon as they get out of the pods and they go to the, resort, and after the resort, they get to the apartments, and she's like, so where's those flowers you were talking about all the time? And he's like, oh, you were serious. And she's like, well, you're the one that brought it up. I didn't bring it up. You're the one that told me that you wanted to get me flowers all the time, not me. I wasn't requesting that. And
yeah, so it's like, why even say that?
Yeah. And so then all of a sudden the actions aren't matching the words. So the truth, you can't verify that this person is being truthful because they're already lying. They're already saying something to use a getting behavior or to win you over. And now you can't verify that what they actually said is actually true. So then we look at the familiarity. And there's a common theme with people who have ex relationships where they talk about, I keep dating the same person. I keep dating the asshole. I keep dating the, XYZ. And that's because you oftentimes find familiarity in people and you're attracted to that familiarity.
It's comfortable if you're familiar with it.
So there's two ways that can be either good or that can be bad. Because obviously in a relationship you want there to be familiarity. You want to have similar interests. Jesse, how good would our relationship be, generally speaking, if nothing we did we enjoyed doing together?
I don't know, but it's hard because I know that there's a lot of great couples out there that don't enjoy all of the same things.
I'm not saying all the same things. What if we just had nothing in common?
Well,
like
then I don't
politics,
know.
Religion.
I don't think that we would work very well together.
But so you can verify that everything I say is true. I'm a good person. I do good acts. I am everything I said, but that still isn't enough without familiarity.
I just feel like there would be a daily battle of some sort that would happen.
It would be quite difficult to maintain a relationship where you have nothing in common. Mm-hmm. If everything you have is different, and we talk about even major things that happen. So when someone leaves a fundamental religion and their partner stays in the fundamental religion, it can actually be difficult for those couples to stay together just based off of one thing.
Right. Because, well, they got together because of that one thing.
Yeah.
Right.
So that major thing that was familiar is now a thing that doesn't exist anymore. And so now you don't know what you have in common, or that major thing is so important to you that now you refuse to remain married to someone or remain in a relationship to someone who doesn't hold that same familiarity as you.
Right. I mean, excuse me. I think that there are definitely things I can explore within our relationship where if you made a change in certain parts of it, I'd be like, whoa, that's really difficult for me. I'm gonna need to explore how to get through this.
Yeah, and
see if I can still do this.
And one of those is obviously people know that you and I are vegan.
Mm-hmm.
And if I all of a sudden was like, I don't want to be vegan anymore, that would be quite difficult for you. Because a lot of the interests that we have, especially around cooking together and food, would all of a sudden be gone.
I mean, you and I are in the kitchen together all the time making food for each other. And I think about that world where you wouldn't be vegan anymore. And it would be really weird for me to wrap my head around. And I don't think, it's not like I would be like, that's it, I'm leaving. You need to be vegan to be with me. No.
What is that voice?
It's my fancy voice. No, I would more so be like, okay, well, we need to set up some boundaries here because I need to feel like my space is still safe for what I believe with this. And so you're going to have your own set of pots and pans and stuff.
We're going to build you a whole new kitchen.
Listen, we're going to build a shack in the back, and that's where you're going to cook your food. And that's where that's where you're going to be. No, it would be difficult. There are some things that feel like deal breakers, which we've talked about.
I think another one would be if I decided that I wanted to go back to the Mormon church, full blown. We're talking paying tithing, going every Sunday.
I wish that our listeners could see my face right now. Cold sweat breaks out. No, that would be very difficult. Here's the thing, though. Unless you did something like really awful, I honestly still think that I'd be like, okay, well, let's see if we can creatively work through this. And I'd give it some time. I'm not about to just throw in the towel.
Because we do have to say, like, we've talked about people change, and you can't expect people to just stay the same all the time.
Exactly.
So it can go back the other way too.
I know.
I could change. I could all of a sudden want to vote for someone, or I could want to go back to church.
Let's
or
just
I
hit
could
all the hot topic items in tonight's
not
episode.
be vegan.
No, but okay, you're sitting here putting me on the spot with how I would feel. Okay, Skylar, what if I came to you and I said, I want to be a devout Mormon again?
I would be like, enjoy that.
So you wouldn't be like, I think we're not going to make it.
No, I don't think that I would struggle so much with that. I would miss you for a few hours on Sunday.
I don't know how you wouldn't make fun of me, though, a little bit.
I didn't say I wouldn't make fun of you. I didn't know that was a requirement.
Well, I don't know. That doesn't seem very kind to be making fun of your spouse's beliefs, right?
Well, I'm not going to make fun of your beliefs. I'm just going to make fun of you.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, okay. I think we can both agree with the fact that I don't think either of us would just be like, that's it, I'm getting a divorce right now. No, we would try to see what we can do to make it work. But
there has to be some level of familiarity. You can't just base everything off of truth.
Me, passive aggressively.
Yeah.
Do you remember when you cared about the animals? Yeah, so about that.
How's your murder milk? How's your murder cheese?
We're not getting into that here.
I know.
Everyone can make their own choices with the food that they eat.
And that's the same thing we say about religion and everything else. Like, everyone is free to do what they enjoy and what brings them, whatever comfort it brings them. And
yes,
that's up to them.
And we love and respect the friends and family that are devout Mormons.
We do so
and
much.
We also love and respect our meat-eating friends.
And we don't make fun of them.
To their face.
To their face.
Oh, no.
No, we don't make fun of
them. Come on now.
The third thing, empathy, that one we have talked because we did a whole episode on understanding without understanding. And if you don't have empathy in your relationship, it is going to be quite difficult to connect, I would say, emotionally.
Yeah, it surprises me thinking about you and I and what I felt was a lack of empathy at times.
Yeah.
We still have had such a strong connection, but we really had to explore empathy from your end to me.
Well, and there were times when I was like, "Oh, if I react that way again, you should probably divorce me."
Yes, Skylar has
In
straight up
in
said
a
that.
sense of a lack of empathy to a specific situation.
Yeah, like if you've made me feel a certain way, then you've said if I make you feel like that way again, then you should leave me.
And me making you feel that way was because of a misunderstanding or a lack of empathy.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, you can go both ways. Only having empathy but not having the familiarity or the truth doesn't make for a good relationship, because you're essentially only basing your relationship either on feeling bad for the person or for only having an emotional connection but not having familiarity or truth.
But also, if you have that empathy component, it can make you stay when you shouldn't
Yeah.
because things are really toxic. So, in that past relationship that we mentioned, sorry, I keep having to clear my throat. In that past relationship that I had mentioned, this particular person had let me know that they struggle with mental illness. And they did make it more specific as to what the struggle was. And it really, really tugged at my heartstrings. Like, I think I'm pretty empathetic as it is, but that just next leveled it. That just made me think of all these different interactions I had with them, and all of them made so much more sense. And so it almost gave them
A hall pass of
it did.
toxic behavior.
It did. It almost gave them more of the ability to act out and then say that it was due to that. And it was passable to me. I would say,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I'm so sorry that you're struggling. And you know what? They may have been actually struggling, but it did keep me in a place that was not good for longer than I should have been.
But there was also no way to verify the truth of what they were saying.
That's true. They may not have even had that mental illness or struggle.
They may have just been an asshole and sold that because they knew that they could get away with it by utilizing that particular mental illness.
Right. And
or
guess what?
mental health issue.
I still don't know, and I will never know, because that relationship did end, and that person never did end up telling me anything factually about themselves.
That is verifiable.
Right.
Yeah.
And that relationship did last a long time in various degrees for a good chunk of time.
Yeah.
So it's just amazing when you come back down to the trust, the familiarity, and then the empathy, what that looks like in your friendships, in your romantic relationships, just in your interactions that you have consistently with people, right?
Yeah, and looking at it at a level of what is the foundation of this relationship, going back to, I'd have to guess at this point, episode 7 or 8, but what is the why? What is the why for being in the relationship? What is the why for being in the relationship or friendship? What does it look like? So being able to look in your own relationships and see where you might be lacking based on the truth, based on familiarity, or based on empathy, and fixing that or strengthening where those lacks might be, I think can overall help your relationship get stronger. It goes back to a lot of the other episodes that we recorded about getting past the love languages, or understanding without understanding, or why you're with them. So if you can evaluate your relationship based on achievable changes, then you're more likely to have success with repairing any possible issues that could arise, either because your partner comes out as asexual or just in the marriage in and of itself.
Right.
Or relationship.
You had mentioned something about breaking things down into columns. Do you remember that? Between these 3 items? you had said, what column does this belong to? And sometimes it can belong to more than one.
Yeah.
What was that again? That exercise that you had suggested people could do?
So I think what you're referring to is basically looking at any relationship and breaking down if there's any one particular thing or if you have all three. And the reason why they can all be important is the following. So with truth, you have the foundation of trust. So truth forms the backbone of any healthy relationship. It fosters trust and mutual respect. When partners are truthful with each other, it encourages openness and vulnerability, which deepens emotional intimacy. It can cause genuine connections. So relationships grounded in truth tend to have a more authentic connection. Both individuals can fully express themselves without the fear of deception or misrepresentation. This honesty allows them to confront issues directly, fostering growth. And then you also have emotional safety. So knowing that the other person is being truthful helps create a safe emotional space, reducing anxiety and insecurities. So just on the truth part of it, it's one thing that we see a bit, and we want to be sensitive to what we're about to say or what I'm about to say.
I'm like, what are you about to say?
Well, we talked about it how on two shows, so Love is Blind as well as Nobody Wants This, which is a show with Kristen Bell and Adam.
Kristen Bell?
Kristen Bell.
Oh my goodness.
And Adam, what's his name?
Adam Brody?
Adam Brody. And
is that his name?
Yeah.
Now you have me questioning it.
Yeah, it is. And so in both shows we were watching, and there was something that happened, and the person confronted them and said, well, let me see your phone. I want to go through your phone. Mm-hmm. And I think in both situations on Love is Blind, there was someone did go through the person's phone, but anyway.
That was a by accident situation almost, though.
It started out by accident, but then it went into not by accident.
But then you got curious because you saw something that was interesting.
And same with the Nobody Wants This, where she basically said, let me see your phone. Mm-hmm. And then before she went through it, she's like, no, I'm not going to do that.
Because that just sets a really interesting, weird precedence of how we feel about each other and trust.
And so there's this unique saying that says, trust but verify. And so how much can you trust someone without verifying? But is there a line that crosses that verification where it no longer equals trust? So if you hear my phone ding and you say, oh, who's texting you? And I say, no one.
Well, that's dumb.
And
there's clearly someone texting you.
Or if I just say, oh, it's just a authenticator app that's requesting a thing. Mm-hmm. You can either believe me, mm-hmm. or you can say, I think you're lying, prove it.
Yeah.
Well, if you're already thinking I'm lying, then you don't really trust me. But if you say, well, I trust you, but I want to see, then you're not really trusting me because you're wanting me to prove to you that what I said was true.
Obviously, there's some gray here because you could come from a past relationship where there was some serious violations that happened with trust.
Exactly.
And so you almost have no choice but to bring it into the next relationship because you're like, I can't trust nobody for nothing. I love you, but let me see that phone.
I would say that that's probably something that you should work through.
Yeah.
And work through with therapy and other things.
I think it will continue to hurt not only you, but both of you, like the relationship.
And I don't know.
Because that seems exhausting.
Yeah, because if every time you said, let me see your phone, or you went through my phone when I fell asleep or something, that wouldn't make me feel like you trust me very much.
Well, no, you'd be like, she definitely doesn't trust me. So it would cause you could always say, I have past trauma around this. And that's why I do this. But I feel like that can only hold up for so long. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's hard. I know that that's hard.
So let's look at Familiarity. So comfort and predictability. So familiarity offers comfort and a sense of security in relationships. When you know someone well, how they think, behave, and feel, there's a certain ease in communication and interaction. Routine and stability. Familiarity can lead to stable relationships because the individuals involved understand each other's needs and preferences. However, it can also lead to complacency or boredom if not actively nurtured.
It can also lead to abusive situations.
Yeah. Emotional bonding over time. So the more familiar we become with someone, the stronger that emotional bond is. This is due to shared experiences, inside jokes, and a history that builds a sense of belonging. So again, familiarity is great, but if that's all you have, that's not so great. Let's look at empathy. So emotional understanding. So empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person. In relationships, it helps partners feel heard and understood, which is crucial for emotional intimacy. Compassion and support. Empathy fosters deep emotional support. When you can put yourself in your partner's shoes, you're more likely to be compassionate and provide the support they need during difficult times. Conflict resolution. Relationships that prioritize empathy tend to resolve conflicts more effectively because both parties are focused on understanding each other's perspective rather than simply winning an argument.
Yeah, being right.
So we talk about like what is active listening. Active listening is not thinking about the next thing you want to say while they are talking.
Oh, that's another thing that came up. I can't remember what we were watching though, but you said self-preservation.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone has this natural instinct to self-preserve when there's something that has happened where they, even though they were in the wrong,
Yep.
they will lean towards self-preservation. They will lean towards like covering it up or making it not that big of a deal.
Yeah, we see it all the time with our kids. They'll be like, "I'm sorry, but," and we're like, "No, you can't say but. As soon as you say but, you're getting rid of that sorry."
Yeah, pretty much. Yep.
So how do these factors interact? Let's take a look at those. So with truth and empathy, a relationship with both truth and empathy can achieve a balance of honesty and emotional sensitivity. Truth without empathy might feel harsh, while empathy without truth could lead to avoidance of difficult conversations. Familiarity and empathy. Familiarity makes it easy to empathize as you understand a person's history and emotional triggers. However, too much reliance on familiarity without refreshing empathy can cause partners to take each other for granted, like you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
Truth and familiarity. Familiarity with someone's patterns and behaviors can help in recognizing when they are being truthful. At the same time, being too familiar might make one assume or overlook truths about the partner, leading to miscommunication. So a healthy relationship balances truth, familiarity, and empathy. Each factor plays a distinct role, and when they interact harmoniously, they can foster deep connection, understanding, and love.
Right. I want to also touch on familiarity within if you are in a situation where someone might be manipulating you or gaslighting you.
Yeah.
If they're familiar with how you respond to things, they can definitely use that familiarity to their advantage.
Yeah, and that's where that toxic behavior can come in.
Yes, or if you have been in a previous relationship where it was emotionally, mentally, whatever, abusive in general, then unfortunately, if you get into another relationship, more of that kind of abuse could feel familiar and you might fall into it because it's familiar, right? So, oh man, relationships. It's interesting because I don't feel like it's that hard, but it is all at the same time. It's so complex, right?
Yeah.
It's so sensitive. It's such a fine line of all these things. And at the base of it is trust and communication, right? Communication for sure, but what's the communication for if it's not trustworthy, if it's not honest?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and that's why when we were talking about all this, I made the Instagram post that I did that said, words without actions mean nothing, essentially, something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
because I can tell Jessie all I want, that I love and support her, and that I'm here for her as an asexual person, and that I respect her averseness. But that means nothing if the actions that I'm doing
I won't trust
aren't matching.
I won't trust it at all. The words you're saying.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we wanted to just give maybe an interesting discourse on these three things inside of a relationship, whether that's romantic, platonic, and how you can look at these in your own lives and figure out if there's anything that you can improve on in your relationship, or that you see in your partner where maybe they need to possibly work on doing better at one of those things as well.
mm-hmm.
And it's not easy to communicate with a partner or a person when there is a lack of something, or if there's something that you see that needs to be worked on. It can be very intimidating going to your partner and saying, I need to talk to you about something.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
I heard this little bit on TikTok, a random TikTok video, and part of me feels like it's good, but the other part of me is like, is that kind of manipulative? I don't know. And the thing is if you have to talk with somebody about something difficult, like if you have to address something difficult or confront something that's difficult to somebody, if you approach it in a way of saying, I know how patient you are and how loving and curious you are. And because I know that, I feel comfortable talking to you about the thing that I'm about to talk to you about. Because it kind of sets this, like it almost makes them rise to the occasion of being patient and understanding and loving, or whatever words I just used. Because you literally just told them that they are these things.
Yeah.
And so they are bound to actually act more like those things going into it.
As long as
Did you know that?
As long as the thing that you're saying isn't about to say you're not patient or you're not loving or you're not kind.
Right. Well, I mean, like if they do something that drives you nuts or something, or if you've done something that you feel bad about.
Is it a new form of like a shit sandwich? So you start with something good, and then you have the shit, and then you finish with something good?
No, but it's almost like everyone likes to think of themselves as being loving and kind and patient. So if you recognize that in them and you say it leading into something that has made you feel uncomfortable, but you lead into it saying, I know how patient you are and how loving you are, and that's why I feel like I can come to you with this. Then they are bound to straighten up that back, fix their posture a bit, and actually lean into those things that you just said.
Yeah.
I just don't know if that's like manipulative or not. Is it setting you both up for success because you are bound to actually want to live up to those good things that they just said about you?
I would say that if you're going to do that, it needs to be true with whatever you're saying.
I don't know if it's always true, though. I know how non-judgmental you are. And so I really want to tell you about how last Friday night
Yeah.
Oh, man. That's good.
I do think that there are couples or people out there that do have a hard time addressing issues in a relationship, because I think sometimes, especially people who were raised a certain way, they might think that something is not manly to bring up to their partner. Like coming up to you and being like, Jesse, that really hurt my feelings.
Oh, it's like this mentality of like, suck it up.
Yeah. But there could also be the same thing for, the other side as well. And being like, hey, this hurt my feelings. And your partner being like, get over it.
Yeah.
I think there's a sense of, it's kind of interesting because you have to be confident yet vulnerable at the same time.
To bring it up.
Yeah. And that's a hard thing to combine. It's hard to
Confident and vulnerable.
It's hard to combine confidence and vulnerability because they're on two different spectrums.
Yeah.
But if you're not confident, then you're not going to bring it up and choose to be confident in your vulnerability.
But then you can't have like ego.
But then you can't be ego. Yeah.
But you got to have confidence. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's wild.
So I think that, as we talk about these different things in relationships, I think it's a good thing for both people, or however many people are in your relationships, to have a sense of like understanding or respect when someone wants to bring something difficult. I know that we had the episode we did where we played a scenario and you were like freaking out.
Oh yeah. That was bad.
But I think that as we can learn to communicate healthy, and that we can bring things up and we can discuss these things openly and honestly, that the only thing it can do, unless you're admitting to something like real bad, it's only going to strengthen your relationship.
I just thought about the thing that I brought up with saying, how you want them to behave with what you're saying. So if you're like, I know how understanding you are, and that's why I feel comfortable telling you that I cheated on you. That's manipulative.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, buddy.
Don't try to sugarcoat it to.
Well, don't try to make me think that I'm going to be a bad person for not being understanding in this in this effed up situation. Are you kidding me? So that could definitely be. I think
used
the thing is
as a getting behavior.
But here's the thing: I think that if it comes for a thing that's like has pure intentions, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's different. I think it could be good to put that out there, especially if you do feel like for the most part your partner is patient or whatever. But yeah, that could be bad pretty quick, actually, I think.
I think that some people probably also feel a need that it's hard to complain about something or bring something up to your partner if you don't feel like you are at 100% in your own self and what you're providing and doing. Because if you, for instance, if you were mean to me a lot, or if you were just mean to me once, and then
am I mean to you a medium amount? It's just not a lot. It hasn't tipped the scale to a lot, Skylar.
But then you come to me and be like, you were mean to me. And I'm like, excuse me, you're mean to me like all the time. Like, let's look at Love is Blind. Let's look at Nick and Hannah. So Hannah is like always giving crap to Nick.
She's pretty mean.
And then the one time he says something to her, she like gets
Can't
like
handle.
super butthurt.
Yeah.
So in that situation, it would be difficult for her to say, you really hurt my feelings. You were really mean to me and abrasive. And he's like, have you seen yourself the last 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Like, it wouldn't make sense.
Okay, so, no, it wouldn't make sense.
But you don't have to be perfect. So the idea is like to not be a hypocrite, but...
The idea is not to be a massive hypocrite.
To not be a massive hypocrite, but understanding like how to communicate when you've been hurt, or if you feel unheard.
Yeah.
Or misunderstood.
Right. Okay, so in my previous marriage, I can say that I definitely felt nervous to speak up if something bothered me. I do feel like I walked on eggshells a little bit, and I was worried about it. Do you feel like you also felt like you couldn't communicate in those ways within your previous marriage?
I didn't think that I was able to have any say or communication or to say anything.
So in your previous marriage, when something was done that was not kind to you at all, like you just wouldn't say anything at all about it?
Well, by the end, I just felt so broken that I was like, I'm not capable of loving anyway.
Okay, so my big question is,
so in this relationship...
Yes, what makes us feel comfortable? Because we literally, are we extreme the other way now, where we're like, well, everything's on the table. No, you just say everything now.
Well, I've talked to you about this before where I did bring up something one time and you were like, really?
Well, that's because it was.
And that kind of hurt my feelings when you did that.
I know. I know.
But did that possibly cause to where I didn't bring up things later because of that situation?
I don't know. Do you feel like I hurt your feelings a lot?
Well, it's not about hurting my feelings a lot. It's about whether or not...
Okay, sorry. Do you feel like I hurt your feelings at a medium amount?
No.
Do you feel like you hurt my feelings a lot?
No. Like actually hurt your feelings?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
I guess we have
Wait.
to establish what a lot means.
Skylar has some foot in mouth moments, okay? And it's not like it's like intentionally hurting my feelings or something. No. He says something and it comes off the wrong way. But here's the main part of that. The main point is that I say, hey, that hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
Right away. Hey, I don't like that very much when you're doing that around me or to me or with me.
I do think that there is some level of proneness because of the amount of communication that happens and the amount of discussions we have.
Oh, okay. So you're saying since we have 100 conversations a day, you are bound to have some foot in mouth moments.
Well, especially because with our podcast, I will ask some probing questions sometimes.
Yeah.
And I become a detective or an investigator because I'm curious or because I think it might be something good to bring up on the podcast, and it can hurt your feelings.
It can. It hasn't happened that often, but you do have to watch yourself on playing devil's advocate too far.
Yeah.
Right. It's just what my big question is, though. Why do you think you and I have gone into our marriage literally behaving the exact opposite way in that sense of like, nope, we're going to just always say if something is up?
Well, I think that we talked about this in one of the episodes when we got together where I was like, I am not putting my best self forward because I'm not going to hoodwink you.
You're just going to be you.
I'm just going to be me.
That's it.
You're going to know who I am and from the beginning.
Yes, and regular people make regular mistakes.
Now, that doesn't mean that I'm not going to change who I am. Because we talked about how some of the actions early on in our relationship were kind of red flags. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean that I'm just like, well, that's who I am, bitch. Get over it.
Yeah.
That's not how it is. It's more so, this is the raw me. I maybe am not great at relationships right now because I have such a low self-esteem with myself with relationships that I don't know if what I'm doing is good or not.
Yeah, but that wasn't vocalized 6 years ago, right? So,
well, I think some of it was.
Maybe a bit. I don't know.
But I think there was also coming out of the Mormon bubble and coming out of like the patriarchy and all that and what is healthy, what's not healthy. And we learn and we grow. And I would say that I've come a long way with that. And so it's not about accepting me for who I am, fault and all. It's accepting me in my raw state with my promise to become a better version of who I am.
I think it's actually accepting each other through growth.
Yeah.
I think that I was just talking to somebody else, I think yesterday, about I can't imagine feeling stagnant in my own growth.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that would feel so unnatural to me because it seems so normal to have introspection, right? To me.
Yeah.
So I think it's learning how to communicate and love and be curious through the growth stages. And it's not all the time, right?
Well, if you look at children and children learning, we expect children to make mistakes. And we expect them to learn from their mistakes. Mm-hmm. We don't expect for them to just be perfect. So I think if we took that same approach with our partners And we said, look, I expect you to make mistakes. In fact, I know that you're going to make mistakes. You're going to hurt my feelings. You're going to say something stupid. You're probably going to do something that you shouldn't do. But I expect you to become a better person through those mistakes. And I expect you to grow from your mistakes.
Right. I don't think that that's too much to ask for. And it's not even like you expect them to massively grow from it. No, just a little bit, you know. Sometimes you're going to have massive growth, and other times it's going to be like little tiny baby steps.
Yeah.
But there should be movement. There should be fluidity and movement in that.
Yeah.
In growth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's all I have.
For now.
For now.
Yeah. I know that this was kind of a meaty discussion, it feels like. I don't know. But let us know what you thought about it. If you had any ahas or if you wanted to discuss something a little bit more back and forth, we are up for it and we love it. And we appreciate you listening.
Before we go, I almost forgot. I wanted to say it at the beginning of the episode. Happy Ace Awareness Week.
Okay, we practiced that a few times.
A few, I would say a couple.
Okay, whatever. This is the third time trying to record that.
I know, but here's the thing. Only a handful of people are probably going to hear this during the actual time that
I guess that's true.
Ace Week. But for those that are listening right now, happy Ace Awareness Week.
Yeah, and because of that, I just want to really quickly touch on a post that I made on Instagram today. I posted 2 pictures, and one is a very sad looking picture because it was a very sad picture. And I felt very sad in more of the beginning journey of figuring out I was ace. And then the second picture I posted is wearing my ace sexiverse and thriving shirt. And it's just so fantastic. And I cannot believe the growth that has happened in just over a year with my asexuality.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And that doesn't mean that there's not hard days and hard moments still. There is. But I can tell you, even though it's been painful at times, especially at the beginning, it was very painful. I am so much better off being me and being true to who I really am and what I would really like in my autonomy. I wouldn't change it for the world.
It is very important to be authentic.
Yes, we can really live such a full life in our authenticity.
Yeah.
To ourselves. So happy Ace Awareness Week. We're very, very happy to celebrate it.
And we will talk to you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.